boom goes the dynamite. Here we are.
Heck yeah.
It feels like it's been months.
It has been like a month. Otis, my man.
Yeah. It's been too long, folks. We apologize, but it's been a myriad of things. It's a miracle I'm actually home right now. It's kind of funny because I just got home from Bonneville Salt Flats, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes. But on my way to Bonneville, got a phone call asking if I was available for this weekend. And so I literally just got home this afternoon and I leave tomorrow afternoon. So yeah, it's time going to Michigan for some IHRA Outlaw Pro Mod, which should be, and Mountain Motor Pro Stock and Top Sportsman. So it should be some really good door car drag racing. So we'll talk about that a little bit this evening. We're going to also talk about some tech tips, which is a new thing for us. And it was Aaron's idea. It's a good one. So we're all going to chime in on a single tech tip, and I'm sure it will evolve from there because that's how it always works with us. And of course we got to talk about Bonneville and all the things that happened, including our poor friend Chris Raschke, who passed away in an accident in the Speed Demon 715 car, which is some people call Speed Demon 3, some people call it the Speed Demon 4. So we'll talk about that in a second because, quite frankly, I'm tired of the idiots who are completely full of shit and don't know what they're talking about, who are putting information out there. So we'll talk about that here in a second. But what have you boys been up to? Anything exciting?
Go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, racing. Just constantly racing. Me and Jake made 347,000 laps on that S10. It needs everything new from the back. It's already worn out. We have done nothing but improve every time we go out. And this past weekend, he went back-to-back 032, 038 lights. And ran a 796, 797, 798, 795, 790, 793.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah. So it's been good. We've just been busy and
and photoshopping great look with that wheels up launch from that thing, which is super sexy, by the way. You did a fine job on that.
Well, don't thank me. Thank AI. Because
nice. You told Chat GTP to make the Prime Dime pull a wheelie, and it did it.
Yeah, we're like, hey, Chat GPT, can you help the kid have more power? And that's what it gave us, because that's all he talked about on the way home from the track the other night was how he needs more power because he's already getting bored. And I thought that seems really familiar.
Time for a jug. Time for a jug.
Yeah, the kid's already going faster than he's supposed to. So yeah, we'll have to rein him in a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on which sanctioning body you're talking about. So we'll get into that later. But
let's just say right now we're kind of in that no man's land of no time racing. So we don't really know what we ran. I mean, we had
you're in Junior Street Outlaw right now.
Yeah. So I mean, it's anyway, it's been really good though. We've had a lot of fun and it's been really cool watching him develop and do his own thing and he's pretty automatic now. Like I don't even really have to do much. Hell, I've been putting other people in the truck with him. Like I trust him that much. I mean, hey, you're a little bit lighter than my fat ass. Get in there and let's see if we can
go a couple hundreds faster. Yeah.
Hey, but here's a fun fact trivia that we'll do for everybody in the comment section and remind me at the end. We'll announce the winner. But in the comments, stock bodied 92 S10 with a iron block LS, turbo 350, 8.8 rear end, 285-pound passenger, 149-pound driver. What is the gross vehicle weight of that vehicle?
All right. So what does that thing scale at?
Yep.
Total weight ready to go down the racetrack.
Yeah. Drop it in the comments and we'll let you know later on. You
All
guys
right.
have a guess?
Oh, I'm not putting a guess in yet. I'm going to wait until we get all these in, and then we'll make our own guesses.
Okay.
I already put mine in the chat.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Oh, yeah, I see it. There you go.
Yep.
Okay. Randy is asking whether it has a full interior in it. The answer is yes.
Yeah,
it has a factory bench seat, factory door panels, dash, etc.
CD player. Yes.
Yeah. All right, and Aaron,
block LS still weighs less than a conventional small block.
That is true. Yes, that is true.
Mm-hmm.
So, what have you been up to there, Aaron?
Work, and a lot of work, and some more work. Hanging out with some family, some friends that came into town. No racing. It's hot as balls here in Texas. I've gone out a couple times in 102 degree heat, and if you can't tell, I'm fat and it sucks. So yeah, we're getting we got 2 races scheduled in October, and one's in Ardmore, Oklahoma, and the other one's at XRP that we're going to go to, the Pennington's race there, their bracket race, which at the end of October around Halloween should be beautiful weather in XRP. If it doesn't rain. Chad's going to drag his ass out there and be a pit bit for me. But he's right next door, kind of,
Yeah. Not far.
So yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. But I just got tired of sweating balls off. I wear all my fire gear, even though some of the tracks I've gone to don't necessarily check for all of it, or they don't even tech. So. Which is good and bad. And from my perspective, it's bad because I have all my safety equipment. It's all up to date, and you don't know if the guy next to you does. So I'd rather go through tech, even if they're jerks, than not have tech at all.
Right.
So that's where I'm at.
I agree completely. Well, and I
got a haircut.
I saw that. It's looking lovely, by the way.
Thank you.
I just got back from Bonneville and was there from, let's see, when did I get there? I got there last Saturday, which was day 1 of racing. I got there in the middle of the afternoon, and it got real windy, and so racing was canceled for the remainder of the day. They got in most of the day. I just hadn't been there yet. So was there for all the racing on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and then left this morning and headed this way. So the salt was very dry this year. This was one of the drier years that I've ever seen out there.
Is that good or bad? I've never been to Salt Flats, so I don't know if it's good or bad, if it's dry or wet.
It depends. Okay, so the for those people that are out there that don't know anything about Bonneville and the Salt Flats, it's a layer of salt that varies in depth, but is way thinner than you'd think anymore. That's a whole other story. That is then on top of mud, if you will, and water, that's in the soil underneath it. And so the moisture level, can vary with rain and weather and time of year and all those things. But generically speaking, the salt is always at least a little bit wet. And when I say wet, like you walk across it and it will slightly stick to your shoes. On a year where it's just barely wet, on a year where it's really wet, you'll get taller as you walk because it keeps building up on the bottom of your feet, like mud does. And those conditions change how the cars go down the racetrack. So there is a certain level of moisture that really lets this have a nice smooth texture and allows really good traction. but obviously there's too wet where it just gets slimy and it's, really difficult. The wetter it is, the more it also builds up on the cars themselves, on the race cars, and it'll like fill the wheel wells and all that stuff, which can be an advantage sometimes. So don't let anybody tell you it isn't. But sometimes it can also be too much. So, but when it's dry, it on the surface, it can be very smooth. It could also be rough, okay, and dry. You look at the dry and you're like, hell yeah, this stuff's hard. It's like concrete. Like, this has got to be great. The problem is if it gets too dry out there, it will become fluffy, as I call it. Okay. It'll become loose. And it's like spring snow, is the way that most people that know snow would describe it. So you'll end up with areas that end up with thick, loose salt, and you go through it and it like bogs the car down. Right. So, and it could be, an inch thick, or it could be 3 or 4 inches thick of that stuff. So when you race at Bonneville, the starter, who is on your race course, comes up, checks your belts, all those things, sends you down the racetrack. When they do, they also give you any instructions based on track conditions. So based on what they're hearing from other drivers and from staff that's out on the race course, etc., they may tell you, hey, Aaron, when you get down to the 3, you want to not be in the middle because it's real loose in the middle. So you want to go to the left or the right, or, hey, it's really good on the left side all the way till the 3. And from the 3 on, it's pretty tore up on the left side. So you're going to want to move to the middle or move to the right, which sounds kind of absurd, especially when you see how wide the race course is. But you drive it there. You do move around to where you need to be. And so that's just part of it. So the dry conditions worked out for some people and didn't for others. Like any other year. I would say that this was a pretty fast year, but not the fastest I've seen. And that's just going by my gut. You're going to see people that went out and I'm not trying to downplay this, so it's going to sound like it, but I'm not. Like Tom Bailey and those guys came out and ran Keith Turk's Camaro that Alex Taylor drove last year. And they ran it with 2 different engine combos and set 2 different records. And those guys got in the 2 club, got a red hat. That car is very, very sorted out, right? It's proven. So as long as you have the horsepower and the racetrack is there to support it, then that car will go down as long as you drive it right. The aero package is set, all those things. They were running that car, I believe, in gas coupe this time, a classic gas coupe, which is the configuration I drove it in like 08. When 07, 08, when I spun it at 240 mile an hour. And we did not have the car sorted then. From an aero perspective, it was junk, because we didn't have the factory spoiler on it that we should have had on it. We couldn't run the big normal spoiler. We run an altered, etc. So now that thing is dialed. So again, if you get comfortable in it, you drive it like a sane person, that thing's going to run a number. But that's a really, really, really well-known car. There are a lot of people that are out there who have been racing for years or decades or quarter centuries trying to get in the 2 club and trying to set a record and have like inched up on it year after year after year after year. That's the more common side of things. So the guys that show up have never been there, get into a good car like Turk's Camaro and go run a number is the minority. And I bring this up again, not to bag on those guys. They did a great job. They did exactly what they set out to do, like good racers. But I don't want people to think it's so easy, right? Because it's just not. I remember, I don't know what year it was. I'm going to make it up, like 2010 or 12 or something like that. The Salty Cuda, which was a Plymouth Barracuda, as you can imagine, that ran out there at Bonneville, was driven by a guy who'd been going after the same record for like literally 25 years and driving the same car after the same record, just, inching up on this thing for this long. And he finally set a record that got him into the 2 Club. And Keith Turk and a bunch of other 2 Club members spread the word, because it's always normal if somebody gets in the club for there to be some 2 Club members there when they get their record certified, and they're handed their red hat, that they've gotten in the 2 Club. But there were like 100 people there for this dude, and it was tears all the way around. Like, this was a lifelong goal that was achieved. I mean, it's that big of a deal, and I know people that come out to the Salt and they go and they have a great time. And then I also know people that go out and go, oh my God, the pace is so slow. I tell people all the time, this is the slowest paced racing on earth that features the fastest cars on earth. I mean, it's several minutes between pairs. When things are running really well, it's still several minutes between, and I say pairs, it's a single car at a time. It's not a pair. So it's a lot of stand around and bench race and bullshit and hang out and have fun. And it's awesome. It's magical. It's amazing looking there, Yeah.
So they have 3 courses. This much I know. There's 3 courses.
Yes.
So you said there's 1 car at a time. Is that 1 car per course, or is it 1 car on per course and then another car on a course or another car on a course? So
it's 1 car per course at a time, but they do send them staggered. So like they send 1 course, then the next course, then the next course.
Okay.
So that if there's an on-track incident, safety crews, can go across everything to get to where the trouble is. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You have to remember that. So this year it's 3. There have been years where it's as many as 5 courses. I've been there for that. 3 or 4 is pretty common in modern Bonneville days. So it's it'll be this way for you guys. So it's imagine a hand. Okay. So if the pit area was like, for this year, it'd be like this. So the pit area is over here. The long course is here, course number 1, which is the course that everybody goes the fastest on. Then course number 2 is what's referred to as a combo course. Lots of years. This year it was a short course. And so it's only 3 miles of timed miles instead of 5, like the long course. And then the other one, which was separated off and a little bit further around the corner of the dike, which doesn't make sense if you haven't been there, but trust me, was referred to as a rookie course this year. Anybody could run it. If you want to run on the short course, it's fine. You cannot run on the long course unless your car has ran faster than 175 miles an hour and has a sticker that says so on the windshield. Because there's no reason for a guy that goes 100 miles an hour to go down 5 miles. Okay. That just doesn't make any sense. So records that are 175 and below go on a short course. And so they run just to the 3. The long course, again, is for records that are over 175 miles an hour, people that are trying to go 200 and above. The amount of preparation and staff and everything it takes to put this event on is unreal. The scale of it is unreal. If you've never been, like Sean Alsop is saying, it's, a bucket list item for him. And because he's been a few times as a spectator. So Sean knows, like, the scale of this place is creepy. And I say that because there are times where you're out there And I mean, so, like as a spectator, you're driving around or whatever on the main road to get in and out, to and from the pits and the civilian street, to exit the salt. There's a line on the salt and some speed limit signs. There's no lanes. So like you could be 6 wide, like a land rush going for, gold back in the day. Like it's a little unnerving. And especially if it's in the dark in the morning and all that kind of stuff, like it's just weird. There's a lot of, where's that guy going right now? And so it's really important that people pay attention to the cones and all of those kinds of things and the signs. I can tell you some of the sketchy things that have happened over the years, but we don't have enough time for that. So it's kind of crazy, but it's really well run in the grand scheme of things. It's a huge undertaking, and this was the 77th running of Speed Week. So very, very cool. I have been going since I think 06. We were talking about it the other day on the salt. I blame my love for the salt completely on David Freiberger and Keith Turk, because I helped them and then got to drive that car and was part of that team for years. And it was just awesome. James Rutherford in the house saying every car guy has to go see it at least once. James' dad, Steve, 78-year-old Steve Rutherford, went 200 mile an hour out there in a what us Americans would refer to as a Fairmont, but what Canadians would look at as a Zephyr, twin turbo, blow through carbureted, 265 cubic inch, small block Ford. Yeah, just awesome. Steve's a great dude. Built the car mostly himself, and next year it is going to go from being the Steve Rutherford Buckeye Racing Zephyr to the Rutherford family Buckeye Racing Zephyr, and James is going to be behind the wheel, and ultimately his wife Amber and everybody. It's going to be awesome. So really going to be a neat thing. It's great. The cool thing about Bonneville is that it is a group kind of deal. I mean, with rare exception, most people are not out there with like just, it wouldn't just be the 3 of us going racing, right? Like you're going to end up with 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 other friends, or family or whatever that are there too, because again, it's a lot of sitting around. It's a lot of prepping. It's a lot of this and that. And so it's much better to have a group and a team, behind. Makes it a lot more fun, makes it a lot easier in some ways, because there's some weird things you can't do at Bonneville. So like it would not be possible for me to go to Bonneville and race by myself. It's not allowed even. I would say there's no rule against it. It's just not physically possible. So you can't, I'm trying to think of how you could even do that. Yeah, you can't. So you cannot drive a race car on the salt except on the course. So you have to tow or push or trailer your car to the starting line, to the staging lanes, and then race it down the racetrack. When you get off the return road, it has to stop, and your truck and or trailer needs to come again, tow it, push it, or trailer it back to the pits. You are not allowed to operate it under power except when it's on the race course. So again, there would be no way for you to do it by yourself. At the very least, it takes 2 people. Otherwise, it's just not even possible. So it's kind of weird because as we're drag racers and stuff, and especially those of us that drag and drive, we're like, we don't need a push rig, you do there. And you also have to remember that so like James and Amber and all the Rutherfords, they were at the 3 mile is where they were pitted. And so they're 3 miles from the starting line. Let that sink in for a second.
Yeah.
3 miles. You don't tow a car around with a golf cart. You don't ride your little electric scooter around.
Yeah.
That's not, if you don't have a tow rig or, pit vehicle that is capable of going a minimum of 25, if not 40 miles an hour, dude, it will take you forever to get anywhere.
Look at Rebel Driver's comment.
Oh yeah. So this is funny. If you do go, don't drive a car you're worried it might rust. He made that mistake. And he made that mistake with us telling him, you shouldn't have this car out here on the salt. Everything, even in a dry year like this, will rust that goes out on the salt. It will rust. Keith Turk had a enclosed trailer that he used on Bonneville for years, and literally went outside and hooked the truck to it to move it with the Camaro inside to start prepping the car after the car had sat for several years. And as soon as he moved the trailer, the entire box of the trailer fell to the ground with the Camaro still inside on the platform.
Wow.
Everything rusts there. It's not if it's, and you go, oh, well, I'll get an all aluminum trailer and this, that, and the other. All right. So if you ever want to take the bolts off without cutting them off that hold, the brakes on or the leaf springs or the hubs or any of that, if you don't dip them in anti-seize and then remove them and redo that every year, at some point when you decide to remove them, you're just going to cut the heads off of them and take the part off. I mean, that's just how it is. So, yeah. It's a different thing for sure. Blue R in the house from the Gary Speed Shop team. I'll tell you what, there's it's a very special place. It's not for everyone. But everybody I know that's ever went, even if they didn't have any big desire to go, 300 or 400 miles an hour or whatever, they're like, wow, this is incredible. Drag racers that have been drag racers for a very long time go there and go, oh my God, this is how drag racing used to be. You can't camp on the salt. So you can come on the salt. They've changed this in recent years. The hours are different now, but from 6:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. you can be on the salt. But at 8:30 you have to be off the salt. So if you've brought a motorhome and you're going to stay in the motorhome, you need to take it off of the salt and take it either to a campground in town or the Bend in the Road, which is a big BLM land where you can just go camp on salt that's not the flats. And that's just how it is. I mean, you can be there all day. You can't park your race car on the salt directly. You must put a mat or tarps down. Your car can only sit on tarps. It cannot sit on the ground like when it's parked in your pit. Like you can't work on it.
They don't want to leak. They don't want to leak it into the salt.
Yeah. Exactly. As James says, be careful or you'll catch salt fever. They've been coming for 7 years and they get it like it's nuts.
What's salt fever? What is that?
Yeah. What? Salt fever?
Yeah.
You get there and it's like,
I was going to say, hang on a second. What kind of fever are we talking about here, dude? Can I get it work a little bit more? Yeah.
So Bob Dalton, Robert Dalton is a buddy of mine, Bob, from San Martin and Morgan Hill, where I grew up. He's a bad man in all the right ways. He has a new streamliner he's building after crashing his streamliner. He's been well over 400 miles an hour multiple times. And with, by the way, a nitro burning Hemi, which is badass, because there are a lot of people that forever have said a nitro Hemi or any nitro burning drag car style engine can't possibly do this because it can't go 5 miles under power. And the reality is they're right. Most of the people that have tried it who thought they were badasses, and I could like rattle off a bunch of, 80s and 90s and 2000s top fuel guys who thought, oh, I'm going to go out there and own it. Their junk couldn't run more than, a half a mile. And so that isn't real successful. Bob has done it his way and really set the streamliner world on its ear in some ways. And, everybody in land speed racing is not like, oh, kumbaya, we all want everybody to do well. Okay. Just like any racing, there's, competition going on. With that said, I think it's probably more supportive than a lot of other racing. But in the streamliner world, which is a very small group of people, they're also fairly judgmental. And so they'll be, they may be real nice to you, but they'll be like, what the hell is Bob thinking? That piece of shit's never going to go down the salt. Right. And then Bob hauls ass down the salt straight as an arrow and not, dancing all over. And they're like, holy crap, what the hell's Bob doing? So it's pretty interesting for sure. And it does make for some fun competition because again, there's no rules. There are rules. There's lots of rules. But they don't limit your creativity as much as they do in other kinds of racing. Bob's like upside down as well because he's been upside down. Yes, going very fast.
Racing is all monkey see, monkey do. If you have pink fuzzy dice and you set a record, everybody's going to have pink fuzzy dice.
Yes. Charles Wickham says Keith Lopez from Wichita drove straight through the night to be on the salt at sunrise to check it off his bucket list. I know. I was there. Me and Keith hung out and he's already scheming on a race car to do, or well, on a engine combo to do. So I told him to hit me up and we'd talk about it. It is, I would say that that's probably one of the things that is most interesting about racing at Bonneville is that if you get salt fever, if you're like, oh my God, I got to do this, you will build somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 race cars in your head or on paper, trying to figure out what the magic combo is to race in whatever class and what record to go after and all this kind of stuff. And that's part of the fun for sure. So I want to build a modified mini pickup, an S10. Well, I've said S10 all the time. I do have another thought now, but S10 will probably still be it. To go after some records that are in the mid 200s. I mean, 230 to 248 mile an hour now, but realistically, I think those records will need to be in the 240 to 270 range. And yes, that's hauling ass. And it's not like anything you've ever done. If you go, I've been over 200 in the quarter mile drag racing. And it's important to distinguish the two because a quarter at Bonneville and a quarter on the drag strip are two totally different things. So at the drag strip, your quarter is the quarter mile. In land speed racing, the quarter is also a quarter mile, but it's from the 2 to the 2 1/4. And is used as like the 60 foot is used in drag racing as your like gauge. You're like, oh yeah, okay, the 60 foot was good. This thing ought to run a good number. Similar kind of thing with the quarter in land speed racing. So if you're like, oh, I'm trying to set a record at 240 mile an hour and you're at 180 at the quarter, dude, ain't happening. Like not unless you have incredible car and amount of power compared to what the record is that you're going after. Like if your record is 240 that you're going after, but your car is capable of 300, then yeah, you might be able to do it. But remember that every mile an hour increase in speed requires an exponential amount more power to achieve when you're talking about these kinds of speeds for this kind of distance and length of time, because the wind resistance is just ridiculous in comparison. In the Camaro, when I drove the Camaro, I mean, you're literally staring at the tack, willing it to move. It's in high gear. You've got it to the wood and you're like, come on, bitch. And it's like, I mean, just barely moving, you know? So, and Bob is like super data guy, super smart engineer guy. So he's going to be rattling stuff off that I'm putting on screen right now that you'll love. So like he picked up 7 pounds of boost through a blown Hemi combo just because of going 450 miles an hour. But 7 PSI, that's huge. That's big boost.
Oh yeah.
But there are a lot of people that would think they would get 7 or 10 or 27 by going 200 miles an hour. And that's just not realistic. So 1 square foot of area equals 900 plus pounds of force. Because as he says, the wind blows hard at 400. It's a different thing, an absolutely different thing. Now, as we get into, and I'll answer more questions, but I want to talk about Chris real quick. Before I talk about Chris, I want to say that one of the things that you need to understand about land speed racing, and particularly Bonneville, El Mirage, etc. El Mirage is on the dirt. It's only 1.33 miles. I say only 1.33 miles. It's significantly more difficult to go 200 miles an hour on the dirt at El Mirage, by the way, than at Bonneville. And so that's a big deal. But you don't go just to joyride at Bonneville. Like, if you're not going out to go after records and race, then
you're not there. You
shouldn't go to Bonneville and go any faster than 150 miles an hour, because you have to remember that you take in the case of, Turk's Camaro, right? It's a 79 or an 80 or whatever it is Camaro. It's not uncommon for that Camaro that should weigh 3,500 pounds to weigh 5,500 or 6,500 pounds on the salt, because they don't want to add any downforce that requires drag. So instead, they physically add weight to the car in order to get more traction. And it's, I don't know, Bob, what did your Streamliner weigh? There are Streamliners that weigh well over 10,000 pounds. And so it's serious. And I say that because if you crash a 3,200 pound Camaro on the drag strip, the width of the racetrack is narrow in comparison, and you have walls that kind of corral you and keep you moving in a direction. If instead you add, another 2,000 pounds to that car and something bad goes down and you crash it and there are no walls or any of that, it crashes for a lot longer because it weighs a lot more. Yeah. So Bob's Streamliner was really light in comparison to a lot of them at 4,200 pounds. And his wing added 1,500 pounds of downforce on the back of that car. And he, most importantly, has a Nitro Hemi, which means that he has all of the power that he wants. There is no shortage of horsepower, right? It isn't about the horsepower. It's about making sure everything else can go down the racetrack. So,
but how many gallons of fuel?
Pardon me?
How many gallons of fuel? Because it would get lighter as it went down track.
It would. Yeah, I don't know, but Bob will put in here how big his tank is. I can tell you that the 911 Roadster that my buddy Donnie Cummins spun and flipped today, unfortunately, at its very last running of Bonneville, in an effort to get a blue hat, a 300 mile an hour, record. That car, they put an additional 500 pounds in that car, from what I understand, and it made it a little finicky on the handling, I guess. But that car uses so much fuel because it's also a blown, dual plug Hemi, nitro deal. It uses so much fuel that it can't hold enough fuel to go wide open for 5 miles. So they only run the thing wide open for basically 2.5 miles normally in that thing. So, it's they use a lot of fuel. So Bob says 650 to 700 degree exhaust temps and 40 gallons of fuel burned. So approximately 400 pounds. So Yeah.
So 40 gallons of
40 gallons in 5 miles.
40 gallons of nitro per run. Boy, now,
Yeah.
now
what's a standard top fuel tank? Like 5 gallons?
No.
A top fuel tank, I believe, are like 10 or 15.
Yeah, I think it's 10 or 15.
Yeah, but Bob would know. So yeah, 30 gallons is going in the motor and out the exhaust per minute.
God.
Yeah. 18 gallons is a normal top fuel car tank.
Okay. So the question becomes, obviously, right? Every time you put that car on the salt, you have to have your track together because it costs an insane amount of money to send it down there every time.
It does if you don't have a combo that is set to live. Yes, absolutely. If you were rebuilding the engine every run like they are, in a big show NHRA deal, then yes, you would. Oh my God, you'd spend insane amounts of money.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. So they have to tear them down between rounds like they do?
Yes and no. So Bob says the new car has a 55-gallon capacity for fuel, but they may have to tear the engine down and look it over, but they run the thing really soft. So Bob does not take it apart. He runs it. It's running on nitro and all those things like top fuel car, but really they run the thing more like a top alcohol car. And when I say that, I mean, because it doesn't have to come apart every run because they're very conservative,
right? So
and really control cylinder temps. Yeah. And they do that with this 92 fuel nozzles in that car. They have a Jackson who does the fuel system on that car.
Oh my God.
Has developed a system that they refer to as the shower head. And literally it is 92 nozzles inside the hat and under the blower and all the things, so that it keeps fuel distribution very even and very cold. They also are using chilled fuel, etc. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on there for sure.
Yeah.
So again, I don't want to say it's like so serious, like, you're not having fun or any of that. I just mean that, like, if you're going to do this and really go after some fast stuff, then you need to be actually into it. Right. And our friend Chris Raschke was as into it as anybody. Chris was the marketing and sales VP for ARP, the fastener company we all know and love. Chris and ARP have supported me since I get out in this industry. They were a sponsor of Daphne's car, and many others. They've been a sponsor on the Speed Demon cars since their inception. In fact, the shop where the Speed Demon cars are built and maintained is actually in an ARP owned building. Like, that's part of their sponsorship. Absolutely dedicated to the automotive aftermarket, the military, and all the other places that ARP, sells fasteners for all kinds of things. We know them because we're car guys, but the reality is it's a very large company selling nuts and bolts and hardware to anything and everything as far as industry goes. I met Raschke in 2008, I believe it was, January of 2008, with Freiberger. Freiberger and I talked about this on Sunday evening after Chris passed away. He said his entire career, Freiberger's entire career in the automotive, media world, had Chris Raschke in it. He was a hell of a nice man. Always had a big shit-eating grin on his face. It's funny to say, but like, he's one of those guys. I'll share a photo of him right here, but he's one of those guys that we refer to as having the $1 million smile. Mark Gewirtz, who is, world famous, racing photographer, has shot a jillion photos of Chris. And we all laughed about his $1 million smile, right? Look at him. He had perfect white teeth and they're all straight as an arrow. And that smile in that picture right there is actually a small smile for Raschke. Always a big grin on his face. Half of the time, also, you could see the wheels turning because you knew some smart ass thing was about to come out of his mouth, or some other dumb idea or whatever. And just a really, really good human being. And unfortunately, he crashed on Sunday in the Speed Demon 715, which was the new red, white, and blue car, and didn't survive. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of information about what happened, or the facts around the run, I should say. And I'm also going to address a couple of things because I've gotten a lot of messages from people after I made my post who are asking me some questions. So let me start with a couple of things. So one of the photos that I posted was a photo of Chris in the car, and he had his eyes closed. The thing is that he had his eyes closed in the picture that I put up because he was praying. And that was one of the things that a couple of my, very religious friends asked me about. And that's exactly it. So my photos of Chris are probably the last photos ever taken of him. And I'm not saying that it just is the reality, right? I was one of only one or two other photographers that were actually on the starting line at the time that they went on this run. It was a run like any other run as far as being on the starting line. I walked around the front of the car. Raschke was in the car and said hello and gave me the acknowledgement that he saw me there. This is the car that we're talking about, the red, mostly blue and white, but red, white, and blue version. The entire crew here, not in this photo, but they're all there. They're all getting ready, everything ready for him to go. Chris, like I said, acknowledged me. I said, "Hey, dude, have fun, be fast, be safe." And he said, he would, and thank you, and gave me the smile, and then one of his crew members leaned in and started to pray right as I snapped this photo. So I set the camera down, and bowed my head as well, and stood there with them, and then here they are done with the prayer, and Raschke, focused and ready to go. This is a very, very well-equipped team. And I don't mean that like from a tools and money perspective. I mean, they are, but I mean, from a talent perspective, this is not they haven't set all these, world's fastest piston driven vehicle records because they were not good. Here they are, talking to Chris, giving him word on where they're, where he's going to go down the course, etc. And Kenny Detweiler had already given him instructions on the engine stuff. So, there you go. And here is the car getting pushed off of the starting line. So if you're not familiar, at Bonneville, with very, 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 very rare exception, anything with 3 or 4 wheels is typically pushed off of the starting line. The push truck can go as fast as it wants to go, as long as it does not go through the 1 mile timing equipment. It can push the car as fast as it wants to go. The reality is most people push 30, 40, 50 miles an hour, and then the race car pulls away. Chris pulled away from the truck just like normal, and it was good to go. My photos end there, which is probably a couple hundred yards before he starts driving away, because quite frankly, my lens isn't long enough that I had on the camera to do great, and you're behind the car. So we all stood there just watching. The entire, facility is watching, because it's, it's the Speed Demon, right? Speed Demon's going. I mean, this is arguably the most famous land speed racing car in history. Everybody comes to watch this car. When any of the Speed Demon cars are going down the racetrack, it's being announced over the, radio station and all that. I mean, people leave their pits and come to the front of the pit lane on the return road to watch them go by. And you got to remember that, you're going so fast out here and stuff. It's not like you're standing next to the racetrack at the, at the starting line, you're next to it, but in the pits, you're a half of a mile or a quarter of a mile away from the racetrack. And so you just see the thing going by, and to hear a car at full song for 5 miles is something that I cannot even begin to explain to you how cool that is. So everybody is watching this car. But here's an important thing. 98% of the reports about what happened to Chris are false in one or more things. And the biggest thing that everybody has made a mistake on is that this car was not going for a record on this run, period. This car was not going 400 miles an hour on this run. It did not go 400 miles an hour on this run. The car was going down the racetrack. This was only the 3rd or 4th run this car had made on the salt ever. It was a brand new car. And they were working on some tuning stuff, and Chris was supposed to drive at 300 miles an hour on a fairly soft run, which meant that he would go through the quarter at something just under 300 miles an hour and be clicking it between the 2 and the 3. And so at the 2 1/4, he was doing 284 miles an hour or thereabouts. And which means that at the 2 1/2, he should have been doing 300, and would have been poised to pull the parachutes, right then at that point. And that's when the crash happened. I have seen one video. It's the only video I care to see. The car loses control. I mean, snap of a finger, and tumbles and flies and does all the bad things. Unfortunately, Chris did not survive the crash. And, again, this is a top-notch car built to the, highest standards. Anybody who's making, predictions or claims as to what happened has no clue. This happened now 3 days ago. The team may have looked at Steve and those guys, they may have looked at the data now. I don't know. I'm not going to ask them. When they're ready to make a statement, if they're ready to make a statement, they will make one. And until then, shame on anybody out there who wants to, make false claims, who wants to do all this kind of stuff. This is a man who, lived and breathed. You got to understand that Chris was at races all the time, did all kinds of stuff. He did race cars, okay, over the years, but never anything really big deal like this. And when George Poteet gave him the opportunity to be the next guy to get in the Speed Demon, and he started doing it, and he went and got his red hat with Wayne Jessel, I believe in Wayne's truck, and all of that. He got salt fever bad. He was the most dedicated to this. He wrote Facebook post after Facebook post after getting his 2 Club red hat about, oh yeah, I went into 7-Eleven today and I got me a Slurpee wearing my red hat. This was how he was. And then when he got a 300 mile an hour record, he was like, Man, I'll tell you what, this blue Slurpee almost matches my blue hat. You know, I mean, he was awesome. When he got his black hat, which was for 400-mile-an-hour record, even better. And you saw that in that photo where he's wearing the black hat. This dude was as hardcore and as into this as anybody has ever been. And as Bob says, this may be the biggest loss on the salt ever. And I will tell you that I have been at Bonneville when I'm going to guesstimate 5 or 6 people have died in the years that I've been on the salt while I've been there. And it hits you, right? This one hit us worse. You know, Dar Hawthorne is here. You know, Dar has worked with us on bank shift forever. He's been a friend of mine for a long time, has known Chris since 2003. And he and Freiberger and I were texting each other the whole time while waiting for news on Chris's condition. So he was not going 400 miles an hour. He is not 60 years old. He's 61 years old. He is survived by his lovely wife and the rest of their family, who some of whom were there with them. I feel horrible for them. And at the same time, his daughter wrote an absolutely beautiful post on Facebook yesterday or today, I believe, saying how sad she was that he was gone and how wonderful of a papa he was, but that it's also hard to feel too bad when he died doing the thing he loved the most with the people he loved the most. It was hard. I've known Chris for a long time, not as long as Dar, not as long as Freiberger. I was not close personal friends with Chris, but he was a special person who, you know, I did see at races, at events, and talk to him on the phone and help them set up deals. And, you know, when Lyle Barnett from MacFab Beadlocks called me and said, "Hey, do you know anybody at ARP? Because I'd like to start buying bolts directly from them for our beadlocks." I sent Chris a text message and said, "Hey, dude, Lyle at MacFab wants to buy bolts. Who should I hook him up with? What sales guy?" And he said, "Just give him my cell phone number." And they made a deal. And within minutes of the news going out around the world that he had been killed, Lyle hit me up first thing. "Oh my God, Chris was the nicest guy." And that's the thing that everybody said. And because of the relationship that we had with them as an advertiser, as members of the media, going back and forth, it meant that we spent some time with them and got to know him and his team. And Bob Florine, who's the owner of ARP, is another spectacular human being. And we reached out to him as well, Dar and I both, on Sunday evening. And I have to say that I cannot, as much as I know it's impacted us in the aftermarket, I cannot even begin to fathom the impact on the ARP family. I have been fortunate enough to get a famous, Chris Raschke ARP tour on a few occasions. And I can tell you that that dude, 5 buildings, a restaurant, all these things that are ARP. It's amazing, right? He knew everybody, every single person in the building. And he was a jokester and stuff. So he'd be like, "Oh, this is Lucille, and she's rolling threads and bolts. She's been doing it for like a week. She's only lost one finger," right? And there's, the woman is sitting there and laughing at him. And I'm going, "Okay, so how long have you really been here?" And she's like, 24 years, and my name's not Lucille. It's, it's, Amber, and, and Raschke would laugh, and he just thought he was the funniest thing and have a good time. And he treated people really well, and he would give you the shirt off his back. Just a wonderful human being. And the automotive aftermarket will feel this. The the racing world will feel this, all of it, obviously the PA or the ARP family as well. Kyle Fickler, who needs no introduction in the aftermarket either, is on here saying, he got to know Chris at the PWA conference in 2000. Joey Granatelli introduced him. Like everybody knew Chris, like everybody in racing. And it's just amazing, so really a fun guy, great dude, amazing human being, and as hardcore as anybody else about driving that race car. And whatever it is that happened that caused it to crash, whatever that is, if there is some way to make that not happen again, to make it, even safer for the next person down the road, then I am absolutely confident that will happen. It could have been a freak parts, failure. It could have been, who knows, right? But ultimately it doesn't really matter. We lost our friend, and unless we can do something to learn from it, none of the speculation matters. None of those things matter at all. So, if you see one of the videos that's, the title of the channel is in Chinese or Arabic or whatever, those are not, even remotely associated with any of this stuff. And they've stolen footage, off of the live stream, not my live stream, but, the live stream from the SCTA that, was on, for the event. They obviously pulled that day down because everybody was trying to download it and all those things. So, but yeah, Kyle is saying that Gary Holsefan and the family are owners of ARP as well. Sorry about that. But yeah, it's a terribly sad deal. I feel bad for him. It put a very somber mood on the event, as you can imagine. I can tell you that guys that I know in the racing and automotive aftermarket world, were in the staging lanes the next day, and there were a lot of teary eyes, let me tell you. So it was a rough one being there, and it was hard for a lot of people to continue the next day, but Chris would have wanted us to, and the SCTA did a great job. The fire safety crews have a very difficult job there because this area is so big. The care flight or life flight, helicopter came in, all of those things. But again, they did it. The SCTA and all of them did a great job responding to the crash. When there's a car that's running 300 miles an hour or more, or is capable of 300 miles an hour or more, then they only run that car on the long course. And Lee Kennedy and some of the other safety officials are, in some cases, literally chasing the race car down the racetrack. And that is to watch what they're doing, to check the conditions, and also to help ensure they're, as safe as humanly possible. Because, you're talking about cars that can go 500 miles an hour. It's just, it's mind boggling, So yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And again, not a record run. It was a planned shut off. What I was told was 300 miles an hour. And any other information that we do or don't get is going to be at the will of the racing team and the family and all those things. And I would really appreciate it if everybody would respect that, for sure. So Mrs. Raschke and the entire family, we feel for you. And as I put in my post, if you didn't read it, go read it on Bang Shift. Thank you for sharing him with us, because the dude was awesome. And this one is going to sting for a while.
Yeah.
This is a very different deal, and, not old, not done yet. He had a lot left to do,
Yeah. But on the flip side of things, as sad as it is to lose somebody like that, it's also pretty amazing that somebody gets the opportunity to breach the other side doing everything that they wanted to do. And, you know,
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the beauty in it all. And that's the hard part about trying to, you know, accept the fact that it happened, but knowing that, you know, he didn't die as a old decrepit person in a rest home, or, you know, gardening outside and having a heart attack and killing over, or,
Right.
you know, diabetes, you know, getting the best of you. You know what I mean? There's so many things that can get you, but my goodness, you know, like, to be out there doing that, that's something awesome.
I agree wholeheartedly on that.
Yeah.
All right. So if anybody has any other Bonneville questions, feel free. If you have not looked at all of our Bonneville photos yet, I have a ton up on Bang Shift. There's more coming. I shot hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of photos, so we'll have a bunch of photo galleries on the site. You can go check out. I will say this year was a good year for fun and creative cars on the Salt. One of the things that's interesting is there are body categories and engine categories, and you put the two together, right? So you could have a AA blown gas streamliner, right? So AA meaning bigger than 500 inches or bigger. And so, you know, blown meaning obviously supercharged or turbocharged, gas meaning gasoline, and you know, and streamliner obviously being a streamliner. You know, a Lakester is a different thing. It has exposed wheels instead of covered wheels. You know, door cars can fall into a bunch of different classic gas coupe and altered and all kinds of things. But the reason that that's interesting is because there's like XF categories, which are for flathead engines. But there are all kinds of weirdo stuff. Like you could see a Buick flathead straight 8 in a 1999 Trans Am. Like, yeah, that's the kind of weirdo stuff. Or the 3rd gen Firebird that was powered by not a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or a 4, but a 5-cylinder 2-stroke.
Oh,
These dudes took, I believe they said Arctic Cat jugs, which jugs in motorcycles mean cylinders, right? Because they're air cooled. So cylinders. The cylinders themselves were, you know, a factory piece. The engine block, the crankshaft, and the cylinder heads, all 100% built from scratch. 2-stroke. It sounded like you fired up 5 chainsaws and had them hooked to the same throttle. And it went 200 plus miles an hour on the Salt. It was awesome. There's crazy stuff that runs out there. If you go, oh, I got an interesting, you know, combo. Nobody has ever done this. It'll have to be pretty out there for nobody to have done some variation of it on the Salt. So, but that doesn't make it any less cool, you know? It's just, it's so interesting. Because obviously you're going to see LSs and small blocks and big blocks and all the things, but you're going to see all kinds of other stuff too. And it's pretty cool.
So when I worked in a machine shop in the Northwest, the guy that had a Beretta, it's like probably a 1994 Beretta, something like that. But it had a full chassis in it, but it had a 231 V6, and they raced on the Salt Flats.
Oh, there you go. That makes sense. I totally could see that.
Yeah. Just odd combo, and yeah.
Well, so here's one. Bob Dalton bringing up. So Ferguson's have this beautiful red and white streamliner, significantly smaller than the Speed Demon and stuff, or at least it looks smaller. I don't know how they look sitting next to each other. But it, beautiful car, like red with white scallops, just gorgeous. Danny Thompson, the Danny Thompson, i.e. Mickey Thompson, Danny Thompson. Drove the car this year at Speed Week, set a couple of records in it. One of them was that this thing was a B-class engine that was in it. So they took one rod and piston out of the engine. They put a bob weight, which is just a weight that equals the piston and rod, and they just bolt it to the crankshaft. So it keeps the oil pressure in, okay, and doesn't make it be stupid imbalanced. And ran it on nitro on 7 cylinders and went 390 miles an hour. And that stuff is not unusual. I have plans to build an incredibly tiny small block Chevrolet. There's all kinds of neat stuff. Doug DeLay is asking how long it takes to make a pass at speed. It depends on the speed. So to do the math, 60 miles an hour is a mile a minute. So if you're going 4 times that, right? So if you were doing 240 miles an hour average on a mile, then it's going to take 15 seconds. I can tell you, and Ferguson's Streamliner with the A motor in it, which is a big motor, went 412 out the back today and is in impound 400 mile an hour in the last mile. So Bob says it's 8 seconds a mile at 450, which, yeah, sounds right. So here's the thing. The first time I went down the racetrack there, like I'm hauling ass in the Camaro, and there are markers, like the miles have a giant orange square with a number in. And then the half miles are just a big black square. And like you're going and you're like, oh, there's the 2, and it's like, right? And then you start hauling ass and you're like, oh, there's the 3. Oh shit. It's like, because nothing else gives you any sensation of speed. There's nothing that you're passing, right? It's just a big expanse of white salt. So other than those mile markers going, and the fact that your brain's like, dude, we're hauling ass and we shouldn't be doing this. It gets freaky, So yeah. So like Bob says, 8 seconds for a mile means 2 seconds to cover a quarter of a mile. I mean, it's ridiculous. Buck McCoy says that Steve Huff, who had an electric dragster, set all kinds of records with his electric dragster, had some big plans to go out at Bonneville with that. There have been some electric streamliners that went really fast. It's a pretty cool deal. And Wickham is like, wait a second, Bob burned 10 gallons of fuel in 8 seconds? Yes. Like you start doing all the math on that, and that, it becomes a real thing in a hurry, so it's crazy. I will tell you that like that Beretta you're talking about, right, which was a front wheel drive car, was converted, right? That's not a common there either. I will say, if you really want to be fast on the salt and you want to do it in the most drivable way, I was going to say easy, but that's not true. In the most drivable way, then you do it in a front wheel drive something. Because a rear wheel drive something, at some level, the rear tires are trying to pass the front tires all the time. They're in their own race and they're like, I'm going to catch you. And you don't want them to catch each other. I know. So a front wheel drive is pulling the car dead straight the whole time, right? It's not as likely to do this kind of thing going down the racetrack. With that said, I mean, obviously there's still challenges. So it's not that makes it easy. It just makes it different. And in some ways more, stable. It is by far not the norm for front wheel drive. But there have been some guys that have done it in streamliners in recent years as well. So And when I say recent, I mean the last 10 or 15, because in Bonneville speak, 15 years is recent. So this was the 77th running of Speed Week at Bonneville. So
let's talk some IHRA.
yes. All right. So this weekend, Pro Mod, Mountain Motor Pro Stock, and Top Sportsman at Durana Dragway, aka Milan Dragway, which has been all redone. I'm super excited to see that. I'll be there announcing. It's a Friday and Saturday race with $125,000 guaranteed purse going to the winner in Pro Mod. It's going to be a big deal, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this new IHRA team does. I've been hearing really good things. How about you, Aaron?
Really good things. I mean, all the checks cashed from the other Durana Dragway, which I find odd. They're naming all the dragways the same name, so
Right.
Kind of rough. But the racers that showed up and said that the traction was good, the facility was ran well. I've seen zero negativity from the people I know that ran the events or on the internet. So I'm hoping IHRA is back and can put some pressure on other sanctioning bodies that we won't mention to kind of clean up their act a little bit. That being said, I found out today, so like Ryan's son runs Junior Street, and so it's a 9.0 cutoff in Junior Street in NHRA, but it's a 790 in IHRA, and this is 8th mile, obviously.
Right.
Oh,
so
I did not know this.
So 790 in an 8th mile to me is extremely still slow. I mean, yes, a 790 junior dragster goes like 80 miles an hour, whatever. But I think NHRA is kind of missing the boat there with Junior Street and not lowering their ET because 9.0 in an 8th, I mean, I mean, are you eating a sandwich? Do you drink the Slurpee? Is it a burrito? I'm kind of curious here.
Well, I can tell you that it is. I mean, it's challenging. I mean, and that can be fun. However, I mean, it's hard to keep them interested, right? I mean, when you have a kid that's around racing, like my kid's around a lot of racing, he wants to go fast. He wants to feel that speed. And even though he enjoyed doing the class on Rocky Mountain Race Week, his truck was faster than the class allowed, and it gave us a lot of struggles, which is fun. Like I mean, I enjoy the task, but at the end of the day, if you can put a kid in a dragster, a junior dragster, okay, and that kid can run as fast as a 790, and I've seen him run faster.
Oh yeah.
There's some pull the weight off the Godzilla block and see what happens. It's pretty impressive.
And so the fact that you can go from a junior dragster and right out of that and 850 cert or 90 cert, whatever it is, and go 850s in the quarter mile. Well, what's going on with Junior Street? You're leaving them out to dry because how can you go from a junior dragster to that's a 790 in the 8th mile to go insert for an 850? There's no in between. And so, like some people don't want to invest in it. See, I looked at junior dragsters and I thought about doing one for a while, but I looked at it as it was a giant waste of money because it costs an insane amount of money to run something like that, to have a program like that. You have X amount of space dedicated to that at your house. They're temperamental. They never want to run right. You got to constantly be working on them. And it's like, and then when you sell it, you got $30,000 into it, and you sell a 790 car for $8,000. Like, it's a total waste to me.
You got an $8,000 motor in that thing too, by the way.
And I've always looked at junior dragsters that way. I mean, it's cool. Like if people want to do that, it's fine. But from my perspective, I've always thought, why not just build my kid a car or a truck in this instance, and get them acclimated to driving that at a young age, and they just make that faster as they go on.
So Chad, what is the equivalent quarter mile for 790? I can't do math in my head. I'm too tired.
It is, according to the calculations, I just did 2 of them. It is roughly, 1259 is what came up on one, and 1255 on the other, and 1262 on the other. So, right there.
I mean, the average street car, and we're talking like a normal, we'll just talk a 300 horsepower V6 Camaro.
Right.
Okay. That car can get to that in a quarter mile. Pretty, I mean, yes, it might be a little slower because it's heavier, but I mean, I think that we're constraining the youth a little bit more than we need to. It comes back to the whole thing of, you need the 90 classes. You either need to set mile an hour limits or you need to lower the series, right?
Right.
I got a train coming. Hang on.
But yeah, it's extremely frustrating though. Like I didn't think it would be that frustrating, but it's super frustrating. And when we go out and we race at local 8-mile tracks, like I feel, I'm letting Jake run the truck as hard as he can run it. Now, I've got a little bit of timing left that we can throw at the truck. We can play with the timing tables and stuff like that. And we can bring the power in a little bit faster. But I'm trying to get him acclimated to the launch, we went to a track up here north of me. The surface wasn't very good. He got to feel the truck get loose on the starting line. He got to feel the truck get loose going into second gear. And he did a very good job of controlling the truck. But there were a couple of pointers that, both myself and my buddy Tim gave him, on steering and how to not compensate. Before, when you feel the truck move, don't overcompensate thinking it's going to go this way or that. Keep the steering wheel straight, drive through it. And he picked it up and did really well. And, it's hopefully Sean also has approached, he's going to approach, or he sent something out to one of his division leaders out there in his part of the world to see if they can discuss possibly a rule change. And I really hope that they look into that and do it, because man, would race week and everything else be so much more fun if we could just run the truck out,
I mean, he's going to reach out to somebody at IHRA.
Yep.
Oh, I mean, because I can send a message to Lonnie, like literally right now.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we're all old enough that we grew up, sliding around parking lots and doing everything else and learning car control. And nowadays, for us, they would tell us to go home and stop doing it. Nowadays, you're going to impound your car and, call the parents and do all the other stuff. And thank you, Rebel drivers. It's just not, the kids don't have, the problem is the power of the internet and everything gets posted on social media. Thank God that I grew up in a time that didn't happen, because I did a lot of stupid shit. But I mean, at the same time, I grew up in Northwest Oregon, and I slid around logging roads, and there's a drop off on the other side, and I never thought twice about it. And I would drift around corners and, on gravel. And, it's the kids nowadays, they learn to drive to school from stoplight to stoplight, and they don't learn car control. And there's some adults even that don't know car control. And
I am in the world of paying out for those idiots all the time.
And their wallets are bigger than their brains, and they buy something that has, they buy a brand new C8, C9, whatever it is, I don't know, Corvette we're at, and you know what, they wad it up, and because they want all the horsepower, but they don't know how to drive it. And I think that anything over, I'll just say 400 horsepower, you should have a mandatory driver school when you go to buy that car, period.
Yeah.
Mandatory.
Right. Oh yeah. And the thing this is what me and Sean were talking about, when it comes to the junior dragsters, right, you're taking the risk by putting your child on that thing and they're going down the track. Because at the end of the day, the reason why rules are in place is to mitigate damages for possible risks, right? But every time you send the kid down the track in a junior dragster, okay, they are alone and they have to make those decisions on the fly. Now, granted, it is in a long vehicle, a little easier to control. Chances of having a mishap are slimmer. However, there have been a couple of fatalities and just a couple recently, in junior dragsters. And so the thing that we're, from our perspective is like, look, we're willing to get in the car with our children and strap in with them. Okay. And we're going to take that risk with them. And in the event of an issue, there is a skilled driver, someone with more cognizant ability in the passenger seat to help, navigate that situation, whatever it may be. And some people call it nagging. Some of my friends call me nagging Jake when I tell them, hey, let off, but it's because I have years of experience underneath my belt. I can feel when the truck is doing something we don't want it to. And in turn, by me doing that, I'm teaching him how to recognize those cues. And so I think it's a no-brainer to let the junior street go to a 790-80 because it's far safer in a vehicle with a passenger, a parent, or a skilled driver. Now, whether they want to do a special deal where you have to do a license for that, special license to go 790.
Right.
Okay.
You have to get a junior street license anyway, but they could do junior street and junior pro or whatever. You know what I mean? Whatever. Name it something else, right?
Yeah. And then if the vehicle has to have an obscene amount of, safety equipment, so be it. Like I'm already at this point, like the S10 is getting so fast that I know we're on the cusp and I really need to up his safety game. And that's what we're going to be doing here over the course of the next few weeks. He's not going to be wearing jeans anymore. We're going to get him some fire pants. Right. And he's going to be in gloves. We're going to give him a neck brace. And he's going to learn to utilize all that equipment and learn how to get comfortable and drive with that equipment on. Because let's face it, guys, if you're a grudge guy like I was, I didn't have no safety equipment on. Fire jacket and helmet is about as good as it got with me. You go put neck braces on me, gloves and shoes and 5-point, 6-point snatch your crotch harnesses and all that stuff. I'm not even sure I could drive a car without feeling like I was in a locked cage,
Right.
So
and learn from Lyle, put the visor down.
Oh yes.
And that's the first thing we worked on. Like if you watch any video we put out, Jake, he is visor down every time.
Every time. Yep.
Every time.
I had to talk with him and you had to talk with him and he's a good kid. Well, I want to address this. Sharp Pampers, which by the way is a great username. Says junior street is for kids 13 to 16. Do we really think they need to be learning car control in a mid 12-second car? So I would say this. Yes, I think it's appropriate. Do we need to? No, but I think it's appropriate. And here's why I say that. I don't believe that a kid that has never been in a car who is 13 should get in it and run 1250 or 1260. Let's just say it's 1260. Let's say it's 790, which is the equivalent of 1260. I don't think that they should immediately be running that, right? But I think they should learn to run that. So if IHRA has it at 790, great. If NHRA was hesitant on that, right, then I would suggest, okay, 13-year-olds are 9.0, right? And again, like Ryan says, that there would be an additional licensing requirement in order to go to 790. Keep in mind one thing, though, that we're saying 790 and then we're saying that's the equivalent of 1260. That's how the math would work out if you ran it all the way out the door. But remember, at 790, you're not going 100 miles an hour.
86 and a half, 87.
You'd be doing like 80 miles an hour. That's an on-ramp in Texas.
Yeah. Right. So it's not, I would not suggest that a 13-year-old should go a quarter mile and go 1260. No, that's a different thing at that point, right?
Oh, 100%.
You get in a lot less trouble at the 8th mile if you aggressively brake or do something weirdo, right? But I do believe that there is room to have, in this case, 790, class for juniors. And the beauty of this is, remember, no junior drag racing or no junior street racing that is official is heads up. None of it. It's all bracket racing, right? So a kid that has a 9.0 or a 10.0 or an 11.0 in the 8th mile can still go out there and compete with the kid that's running 8.0, right? So that's still, now here in Texas, we're starting to have shootouts and this and that. Oh, great. But junior street as a whole is still a bracket race class or an index class, whatever. You'll be able to run it. That's totally okay. And I would not suggest that a parent just throw their kid in a 790 car if their kid has no skill. Like, you shouldn't be throwing them into a 10.0 car if they haven't had any practice doing it. And Jake has made now, 100 runs or more, probably
72 passes, I think.
72 passes. Okay. So he started out going 150 feet.
Yeah. He started going 150 feet, and he worked his way to a 1050 in my truck to got it down to a 9.0, and then the truck has gone from I think he went the fastest in that truck 850 at race week, and then we had to slow it down. Obviously, we were going too fast, but since we've been home, we've been going 8.0, 790 every time we've gone out.
So get this, Chad and Ryan. So I was at a racetrack in a Midwestern state, I will say, and they had an electric junior dragster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which they can tune a lot closer than running the normal alcohol.
Right.
And the junior dragster, and they ended up getting disqualified, but it was in the 790 class, and it went over 90 miles an hour at 790.
Yeah.
Because they basically upped the motor to basically accelerate out the back door, so to speak. So it left super soft and then just freaking crammed out the back door.
Yep.
I mean, and that's a junior dragster.
Yep.
And they're not supposed to go that fast.
No, and I will tell you, like, I have a very, my opinion on electric cars is different than a lot of people in our world. Because I think people are whiny bitches, because who fucking cares? Like, if people want to drive electric cars, let them drive electric cars.
I wouldn't even own an electric.
I do believe that an electric junior dragster is what they should all be, quite frankly. Because, and I know that as a guy in the media, and that there are automotive aftermarket companies that would be like, why are you saying this? Because it's ridiculous that you charge $8,000 or $9,000 or $10,000 or $15,000 for a junior dragster engine. Go fuck yourself. That's stupid. Yeah. Right. I have friends who literally went and bought the Predator Ghost engine from Harbor Freight, along with the Predator Ghost carburetor upgrade and pipe upgrade, and put it in a 20-year-old junior dragster, and took their kid out to the racetrack and had to slow it down because it was too fast for their age. Mm-hmm. And then they proceeded to make 40 runs in one day.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, the 40 runs made the run to the end of the racetrack, turned around, and then drove it through the pits all the way back and back up. And all they did was keep splashing fuel in it, because it's designed to run all the time.
Yeah.
You're in $500 for the engine. Like, that's how it should be. Not this stupid, you got to spend 25, 30, 40 grand. And oh, by the way, then also have an enclosed trailer and all this other junk. That's stupid. And it's ridiculous. And it really, I support junior drag racing because I support the kids doing it, but I do not think it is the smartest way to get people into drag racing.
No, it's not. I mean, it's as much as I've been around drag racing, I looked at it from I strongly considered doing it for the longest time, because when I was a kid, my dad would take me out on bracket nights and I'd see the junior dragsters. I'm like, my God, I want to do this. I want to do this. And, but as an adult, as a father, I looked at it, I'm like, this is like the biggest waste of money. Like, sure. Yes. They get to be competitive at a younger age, all that stuff. It's great, cool, fine. But when you add up what you would spend from 8 years old when they can get into one up until they're 16 years old, you'd have so much money wrapped up in that crap. And at the end of the day, it's just a damn go-kart. And it's a useless piece of machinery. Like, me and Jake go hop in his truck right now, and we can run down to Sonic. I'll drive it. This is on the road. Yeah. and we could go take it out to cruise nights, and he could tell us how to use his truck, and he worked his butt off to get it on the road, and then we can go to the racetrack this weekend and we can go race it like that.
Yeah.
And we got 10 grand in it. Like, I mean, we got like effectively, really, we've got about $10,000 in the truck.
And let's be honest here. You have $10,000 into that truck, but it could run the same ET for $5,000.
Yeah,
it could. You have some better parts in it than are necessary to go that ET, right? Because you're planning for the future, right? So it is possible to do it even cheaper than that. But you brought up, you said, oh, this is a go-kart. You know, I've said this before on this show. In other countries, junior drag racing is not just dragsters. It's go-karts. Okay. And NHRA's hesitation on go-karts is there's no rollover protection. I told Larry Jeffers when he owned IHRA that if he was smart, he would start junior stock. So he would have junior dragsters and junior stock or junior pro stock, and it would be the equivalent of door cars and dragsters, right? And you could buy any go-kart because it's just an index. Who cares what engine's in it? Who cares any of that? It's the index is the equalizer, right? So if somebody wants to put a $200 Briggs and Stratton in the thing and they can run the number, good for them. They can go buy a $400 go-kart used off of, Craigslist or Marketplace. And then I told him, if you made a universal roll bar that would be able to be installed on any go-kart by just cutting and fitting a couple of things, and you made the plans for that, the bends and everything available to any chassis builder on the planet, whether they wanted to sell kits or not, like just so you could do it, you could literally provide a roll bar kit for a regular average go-kart for $100, and kids could be racing go-karts that cost a fraction. And oh, by the way, a go-kart fits in the back of a minivan or a pickup truck or a van or on the roof of a Jeep, okay, or on a little bitty trailer that your mom can pull with a Honda Accord. It doesn't require an enclosed trailer because the thing's 20 feet long. Like,
well, there's also the little funny cars that they're doing now. For those. If I could respond to Mike's little comment there.
Yeah.
Mike Cunningham, if you want to bring that up.
Got it.
So Mike, my only comment to you is you really need to stop driving boring cars on a daily basis, because
actually Cunningham drives good cars. Actually,
I don't know Mike, but
I do. I know Mike pretty well. Yeah.
I mean, my dually makes 550 to the tire, so I don't drive boring cars, and I have fun going to work. So, yes, they're not to go to ADB, but I mean, if I want to drive a boring car, I would drive my wife's. So,
right. Yep. What was this one? Sean put in the 13 to 16. Okay. Okay, here Sean says IHRA's team championship racing is 13 to 17 and at 9.0 limited per the 2025 rule book. But we've heard 790. So we need to look at that. I'll find out tomorrow, because I'll be with the IHRA guys tomorrow night. So I will talk to them and find out more.
Yeah, and hopefully, there's a good no prep race coming up. And I know there's some people that are totally against no prep stuff, but I know that's ultimately where Jake wants to be. Jake wants to do no prep stuff. So I've talked to Hollis, and I'm waiting to hear back, but trying to see if at Doomsday in 2 weeks, we were going to go down to Abilene to test, because we're going to do the War Out West. They have an 820 class that Jake's going to enter. But I talked to Hollis. I said, man, it'd be really cool if we could get a couple of junior streeters to come out there and make exhibition passes and kind of give them some highlight, at your event. So I'm waiting to hear back, and hopefully we get to do that, because we have Levi Holt, which is an hour north of me, and he's got Bella, and they have that awesome little Maverick.
Yeah.
And that'd be cool to get
big a Maverick with air conditioning and all this stuff. It is super rad. And that thing runs like tens or something in the quarter. in full boogie
Yeah.
trim. Yeah. But they slow it down for her to drive. It's awesome.
Yeah. So I thought, man, that'd be super sweet if we could do a no time deal. Don't light the scoreboards and just kind of let them go at it and have some fun. And kind of because obviously at the big national events, obviously like NHRA and all that stuff, like Junior Street is a thing. But there are some kids that are growing up around no prep that want to do it, and let's get out there and let them hang a little bit. So I'm super excited about that. Hopefully we get to do it.
We'll keep bringing you more information on that as for sure. Okay, let's do we've done so many viewer questions tonight, which has been really good, but let's do our tech section on our weather strip adhesive and wrap this bad boy up for the night. So Aaron sent a message to the group, meaning me and Ryan, and said, hey, I think we should do some tech segments for the show. And honestly, since he's a rear end guy, I expected that there would be some rear end tech to start, but that's not what we're starting with. But we will get to that. The thing that he brought up was using weather strip adhesive in order to, instead of gasket cinch, which is a adhesive for gluing gaskets down, if you're not familiar, because the gasket cinch is really expensive, but weather strip adhesive is dirt ass cheap. Or weather strip adhesive in general. He said Permatex. I use 3M. And he's absolutely right. So raise your hands in the chat if you use weather strip adhesive to hold any of your gaskets in place. I can tell you that I have cork valve cover gaskets in small block Chevrolet valve covers that are like the gaskets are 20 years old. And that's in a car with a solid, camshaft, right? Solid lifters. Where we're taking them on and off all the time to do adjustments. And that's why we've always glued ours. My dad taught me that as a kid, because if you glue the cover or glue the gasket into the cover, then they come off really nice. They stay good. They don't get torn up or any of that stuff. It works really, really good. But Aaron, you had some other ways to use it to glue other gaskets as well.
So we used to use it on our blower manifold gaskets. To keep them from pushing out on like the fuel cars and stuff like that. We'd actually glue them down with that. Gasket cinch is basically a rubber cement is all it is. Right. And the weather strip adhesive is basically rubber cement. It's the same thing, but it's 50 cents on the dollar and you get twice as much.
And I feel like the weather strip adhesive, while it does remain flexible, quote unquote, I feel like it has a little bit stronger holding power than the gasket cinch myself.
It's a little bit more hardening.
Yes, I guess that's what it is. But it still remains flexible enough that it allows the gasket to form and move like it needs to,
So, I mean, it's a solid tip. I mean, I learned it from an old hot rodder back in the day. And I've got a tube that's probably 15 or better years old in my toolbox. I mean, it's tried and true, and it's just a good old tip that I learned back in the day. I mean, you could use it for anything that you'd use gasket cinch on. You use that oil pan gasket, stick it to the block. I'd always stick to the block instead of the pan. Right. The valve cover, you stick to the valve cover instead of the head. I mean, so it's the exact opposite. Just things like that. I mean, I've always used it for. I'll stick a crank seal with it. I'll set about 2-piece main seal, and I'll put a little bit in there and offset it and just let it stick.
I know guys that use it for the gasket on a quick change rear end. Because the rear plate you're pulling off and swapping gears back and forth a lot, and so those gaskets are thin. I mean, some guys just use RTV or Right Stuff or whatever, but there are cork gaskets for that or paper gaskets for that, and they work really good if you glue them. How about you? Are you using it on anything, Ryan?
No, but as soon as we put a nitrous kit on that S10, I'll probably end up using it a little bit.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I'll tell you the other one that it's really good for is gluing tires to wheels. So if you're if you're a street racer like we were, and you didn't want to have screws showing in the wheel into the tire, then you 3M weather strip adhesive to them in. And what was interesting is I knew guys that used to put screws on the inside of the wheel, right? And then glue the outside. And we were the opposite. We would glue the outside screw the outside and glue the inside because we ran steel wheels with trim rings on them and you couldn't see the screws. So So then everybody would look in. I mean, nobody thought a car with hubcaps could possibly be going fast. Yeah. So it was always good.
Way.
Yeah.
If you want your one little bonus tip, and this is unsolicited, I don't get paid by them. If you have a rear end gasket, go and look up lube locker gaskets. They're
lube locker.
Yep, they're completely reusable. They make transmission gaskets, rear end cover gaskets, metal impregnated, silicone bonded. They absolutely rock. You can reuse them over and over and over and over again. No silicone, go on dry, just torque them down. Dude, they are awesome. They are.
I'm going to share these right now. These are lube locker gaskets.
Oh, be damn.
And these things look awesome.
And they make them for all the the popular transmission pans too. So like your Power Glides, your Turbo 50s. I used to always get like a droplet on the fin of my Power Glide cover, and it would never show up on the trailer floor, but I could see the droplet on the fin. And as soon as I went to a lube locker gasket, it completely went away, and I don't have that anymore.
Well, I'm going to order one right now then, because that Turbo 350 and that S10, it will not leak at the track, but as soon as it sits here for like a day and a half, it leaves a puddle about that big underneath it, and it doesn't matter what I do. It's got a Moroso pan on it. Doesn't matter what I do, I cannot get it to stop, and it's pissing me off.
No, they make them for all those, and so I highly, like I said, unsolicited. I don't get paid by Lube Locker. They're just a great product. There's a 42 RLE. I don't even know what the hell that is.
I know, but it's only $33. Like, I know that's more expensive than a $10 gasket, but the $10 gasket is going to be a plain old paper gasket for $10. This looks nice.
And they're reusable. I mean, they're completely reusable. So it's like there's $8.99. Yeah. I mean, those gaskets are, there's your bonus tip for the night. There you go. They're great gaskets. And who knows, maybe they'll sponsor the show next time. Go to
them. If you're out there, lubeblocker.com. Lubeblocker.com.
Well, that is good information, and I have that now saved as my favorite.
There you go. I got rid of the logo so you can see it is lubeblocker.com. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yep.
You guys have never heard of those?
I had never heard of those. No.
Oh, yeah, they've been around for a while. I mean, I stock them. I mean, they're great.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome.
If any of you were still here that were playing how much does the S10 weigh?
Yes, I was going to say, I had a note here.
Yeah. If you were playing in that game, unfortunately, if your name is not Lycan, you did not win. That truck is 3,487 pounds. Good job.
And Lycan said
3450.
3450. Yep, right there. Dude.
So Lycan wins a bangshift.com what?
Yeah. I'll get you a shirt, dude. You win a bangshift.com t-shirt.
Bam.
Send me a message. Well, I think you have my cell phone too, but either message me on Facebook or send me a text and get me your size and your address, and I'll send you. Actually, no, I'm not going to send you a bangshift.com shirt. I'm going to send you a Beards, Burnouts, and Beer shirt. Which, by the way, those exist now. Aaron doesn't have one yet, but
Nope.
Ryan does, and I do.
Mhm.
And I will send you some, Aaron. I'm gonna make some stuff here in probably about 2 weeks. I'll be making up another batch. So like and send me a deal, and then we will put them up here on the show as well, so that you guys can see them
And mugs. And mugs.
and and get a look if you want to order them. We'll do some pre-orders and all that kind of stuff. So
And mugs. Mugs.
yes, I have. Yes, these. I don't have a logo on this one yet, but yes. So they're good for sure. Ryan, you posted or you sent a couple videos in too. Do you want us to run those at this point?
If you want to. I mean, yeah. Just a couple of of Jake making some runs. The second one I put up where it's looking at the ground first. That's a pretty good one. Jake picked a race with a Hellcat. No, not a Hellcat. I'm sorry, a Dodge Demon.
Oh yeah.
And, cut an 032 light on the guy and ran out of his life. And that little 5.
All right, here we go.
That was that transit.
Oh, this one's not that.
No, that's okay. It's a nitrous assisted Trans Am there, and you got clipped by a fender.
Prime dime though.
So who was in the truck with him on that run?
So we stuck Thomas's wife in the truck. So in this next video,
she weighed like 125 pounds.
Yeah, so I'm 285 pounds. So we stuck Thomas in the truck in this next video, and Thomas is 200, and his wife is an undisclosed weight, but she is less than him.
Yeah.
So she was riding for that one. He raced a 0-1 after the fact and got beat by a car on that one. But this race here in the next video is prime dime action.
All right, here we go.
Oh damn. Oh damn.
Get him, Jake! Get him, Jake! Ah! Ah!
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Dude, he was driving his little ass off, and the guy in the Hellcat. So this is a funny story. So the guy in the Hellcat, he didn't know he was racing a kid, and so
no way.
After the fact, we were hanging out and letting the truck cool, and Thomas said, "Hey, let's go see if we can pick another race with that guy. I think you can get him this time, Jake." And so they walked over and talked to him, and Jake was like, "Nice car. How fast is it?" And the guy turns around and goes, "It runs 590s to 620s. I'm playing around with some shift points and stuff like that right now, but I've got invited to Roadkill Nights by Dodge, so I'm just out here doing some tuning." And Jake looked at him and then looked at Thomas, and Thomas goes, "Let's go, kid." They started walking away, and Thomas goes, "We don't want to associate with those kind of guys because he's full of shit."
Yeah, exactly.
Jake said, "I think he doesn't know the difference between a 590 and a 790.
Yeah, exactly.
So we got home. Dude, we got home, and the video, I'm putting the video together right now. The title of the video is Finding Consistency, because that was our goal, was to go find consistency. Yeah. And I wanted to see him be better on the light and get consistent on the light, and I want to see a consistent ET. And when he got home, he goes, "Dad, man, I tell you what, I didn't realize how much I learned until I got home today." And I said, "What's that?" And so hit me. "Well, I learned how to load the truck on the trailer by myself, and that was a big deal." And I said, "Yeah, you did good." And he goes, "I learned how to cut a light. I learned how to roll in a little deeper so that the truck reacts a little faster to the light."
Yeah,
because we were going in shallow, and him being on foot brake, it was just taking a long time for the truck to react.
Yeah,
I learned what it's like to get beat by a fender. I learned what it's like to get beat by a car. I learned what it was like to get beat by 3/4 of a car. And then he raced Laney Abney in that twin turbo Mustang, and she just ran out of his life, ran like a 520 on his whatever. And he goes, and I learned what it was like to get completely gaptized. And it's like, he goes, but you know what I learned is most important? He goes, what's that? It's never trust a little dude in a Dodge Challenger because he's full of crap.
And that is so true. That is so true. Oh my God, I love that. I love it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, glad you guys joined us tonight. It was a good show, and thank you so much, Aaron and Ryan. Thank you to everybody that tuned in. Like and send me a message, and I'll get you squared away with a t-shirt when we print some more here in a couple weeks. The rest of you guys, get ready. We'll have t-shirts, hats, hoodies, and tumblers available very soon, both Triple B, Power Shift, and a couple of different Bang Shift versions as well. So really appreciate all you guys, everybody that tuned in to hear me talk about Chris Raschke as well. Thank you so much. And again, to all the Speed Demon family, the entire Raschke family, and everybody at ARP, thank you so much to all of you guys for everything that you guys have done over the years for us, and for sharing Chris with us, and our thoughts and prayers and hugs and good vibes and all those things go out to all of you guys. So thank you so much. And we'll be back in 2 weeks. Next week, we have an episode of Power Shift. And that one's going to be a fun one as well. We have some cool guests that are coming on board on the show. So stay tuned for that as well. It's going to be a good time.
Heck yeah. All right, boys. It's been a good one.
Absolutely. See you all later.
See ya.